Hello, my name is Tom Luongo from Gold Goats and Guns. This morning I'm going to do a game review of Red Raven Games' latest game called Near and Far. To dispense with the pleasantries, Near and Far is awesome, but I'm going to go over some of the things about this game, why I really like it, and what I think its strengths are as a thing. If you've never played one of Ryan Laukatz's games, and in the series we're talking Ancient World, which I own and very few people own, City of Iron, Above and Below, Islebound, and now Near and Far. And actually they're all kind of sequels to each other. It actually starts with Above and Below, where you establish a town, right? That's the whole point of Above and Below, is that you are building a town above this series of caverns, and you go exploring in caverns, and while you're building your town above ground and below ground in order to score as many points as possible. And then there's Islebound, where once your town is established, then you meet up with other towns and you establish trading routes and build more advanced civilizations. And once you're done with that, then you go exploring again in the land on a big, huge adventure in Near and Far. Both Above and Below and Near and Far are storytelling games, so they have accompanying them. One of the actions you can take in Above and Below is to explore, and in one of the actions you can take in Near and Far is to quest. And that, depending on what map you're playing on, depending on what mode of game you're playing on, I'll get to that in a minute. You read the number, and you find the number in the quest book, and you read one player reads the setup to reach out to the other player, and that player then usually gets 2, possibly 3 choices of thing to do, either to overcome a skill challenge or to overcome a combat challenge. And if you do so, then you'll get a whole bunch of rewards and you'll move on. Questing in Near and Far and exploring in Above and Below are absolutely the path to victory. You take the most risk and you get the biggest reward. But at their heart, all of these games are medium weight Euros. Ryan Laukatz's favorite game is Agricola and Power Grid, apparently. And you can see that, certainly you can see that in Ancient World, where he was making a very kind of stripped down, vicious version of Agricola. And I'm not sure the game quite works. I like it, but my gaming group did not at all. And we played it once, and that was the end of it. But I've played Above and Below a dozen times. I think it's a great game. I play Islebound regularly. I really like Islebound. I think it's my favorite of all of his games to play. I think City of Iron is the best. It's like the hardest core, the most difficult of the 4 big games that he's produced in the last 3 or 4 years. But they all are medium weight Euros. But the cool part about them is that because they drip so thoroughly with theme, and because they have such a strong graphic design language to them all, and Ryan Laukatz's not only the game designer, but he's also the artist, that they kind of obfuscate the fact that they're, at the end of the day, point salad, medium weight Euros. And which is very cool, because it's a way to get people who don't like those style games to come to the table and play them. My wife, for example, doesn't really like games like, I have like Quebec and others, and she just doesn't like medium weight Euros, right? But she likes Five Tribes, which is also a medium weight Euro, but with different weird game mechanics that has great theme. As long as the game's got great theme, I can get my wife to sit down and play it. And when I sit down and play like Above and Below or Islebound or Near and Far, she has a great time, and she usually wins too, by the way. I like medium weight Euros, but I'm no good at them. I play them to survive, not actually to win. I'm happy that at the end of the game to go, oh wow, look, I think I won. I did well. I did better than I expected. I usually am playing against myself, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, when you strip away all of the theme, at the end of the day, you have a pretty standard worker placement style game. And I'm going to show you in a minute all the moving parts to Near and Far, because it's actually a rather complex game. There's multiple currencies, there's a town board. So the basic setup in the game, because I'm talking now for almost 5 minutes, I haven't actually told you anything about the game per se. But the basic setup is that you spend time in town, visiting the various buildings in town, like to pick up mounts to increase your movement rate and other people to add to your party and to do some trading to convert the stuff that you went and got when you were adventuring into other things, or to go mining to get some coins or gems, to get some guaranteed results, also to get reputation, which is also worth points, and things like that, right? So you're outfitting your party in town, and then you go out adventuring. And then the size of your party and the composition of your party will determine how successful you are at certain tasks while adventuring and how long you can stay out adventuring, right? There's a very nice, what they call it, it's called hearts mechanic, and I'll show you in a minute on that. So you do all that stuff, and you jockey for position. And unlike normal worker placement games where, say, I'm at the saloon, recruiting people, that doesn't lock other people out from being able to recruit people. There's a dueling mechanic actually in this game, which is really cool, where, for example, if I'm at the stables wanting to buy Packbird to add to my movement rate, you can go to the stables as well, but we're going to have to fight a duel. And then there's a mechanic for fighting a duel, and if you win, you get to stay at the stables, and if you lose, you go to jail, and you get nothing for the turn. So there's a push or luck mechanic in that respect. So you can violate the rules of the standard worker placement game, but you do so with the potential for cost and the resource, and you have resources at your disposal to bias those odds, and everything's done with a simple roll of a 6-sided die. All right, so that's that. But at the end of the day, the thing I haven't talked about is that there are 4 modes to this game, okay, which is incredible value for the money. There is the basic arcade mode, which dispenses with all the quests and the mapping and everything, the quests and all of that stuff, and you just have a deck of skill challenges, and you just pick one randomly and then have to do it. And if you do, you get the reward with no flavor text or anything. It's just, skill 7, get these things, combat 6, get these things. And every quest effectively has 2, possibly 3 options associated with them. Then there's character mode. So the game comes with 8 characters, and each one is a separate story. And so you play and the character mode, we just did this. My daughter and I just did a 2-player version of character, the campaign. It's like a shortened campaign game where it takes like 3 or 4 sessions, depending on how long you want to set the game up to be, where your characters go through their story. And you get the backstory on each of the characters, and of course some backstory on the world and everything else. And so there's lots of replay value there. And you total up points between games, and at the end of the 3 or 4 games that you play, whoever has the most points wins, which is kind of irrelevant. You're really doing it for the story, to be honest. And then there's campaign mode, and there's 11 maps. So not only is there the storybook, but then the game board itself is actually the map book, where you start from the beginning of the adventure, and you go and you play through 10 scenarios on maps 2 through 11, which illuminate the big grand story of what's actually happening in the world that the characters play through as they go along. And there's a boss fight at the end and all kinds of cool stuff, which I haven't done yet. We've done a couple of games of campaign mode between my wife and my daughter, all of which are very cool. And then the 4th mode is just to play, a singular map with questing, right? Where you use the quest book, and you're kind of almost like it's playing if you're familiar with Above and Below, where you're just randomly getting quests and doing them. And you just pick a random map and put some stuff out on the board and then play it. So there's 4 different ways to play the game, which is very, very cool. And so you can make it as much of a commitment or not as you want. So I'm going to turn the camera around in a minute, and I'm going to show you all the game elements and talk about it for a couple of minutes. I've got a couple of minutes worth of that just to give you an idea of how this game actually plays. So, and then all of this will accompany a written review, which I'll put up on my blog at tomluongo.me. And I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you consider giving Ryan's games a look, because I like every one of his games that I've bought so far. And I own, I think, 6 of them now. So, all right, you guys take care. We'll talk, and we're going to turn this around, and that'll be that. Okay, so this is the player board, right? This is town. And so up here, these are people that you can buy to add to your party. This is a reputation track, which is the more reputation you get, the more points. And then, of course, if you get negative reputation, you get negative points. These are the various buildings you can go to that are effectively are your different actions you can take. So you can go to the town hall or the saloon to buy people, or the town hall to do some trading, or you can go to the farm. I think, what was that place called? It's the stables, right? And that's where you can buy pack birds to add to your party so that you can move faster. And also, pack birds can carry treasures that you can get at the Mystic's Hut, which give you special powers. And here at the farm, you can buy food. And over here at the general store, you can get more artifact cards, or you can just get a coin, which is never a good idea. And then over here, you can go to the mine, where you can get reputation, which is the little fire symbol here, and then gems and coins, which are the two major currencies. There's actually 3 currencies in this game. There's food, well, actually 4 faction tokens, because there's 4 different colored factions, and the people that you buy all have are all color coded along with each faction as well. And then there's coins, and then these really cool plastic gems, which were a Kickstarter upgrade, as opposed to just cardboard. So that when you come over here, this is your player board, right? And your player board has a number of things. So these are your camps, right? And the game, you start with 14 of them, and if you have placed any in play, either on the board over here or on the mine, then the game ends when somebody plays their last camp, their 14th camp, and that's when the game ends. But as you see here, this is where your party is, and you can have 1 character in your active party per color. Okay. Pull that guy down, see, like that. All right, and then they have various abilities. So you've played Above and Below, you understand the symbology, but they have various abilities which allow you to either fight effectively, or pass skill tests effectively, or be more efficient when building camps, and so your actions are worth more coins or more gems or whatever per action. And then this is your heart tracker, which your party, when you go out adventuring, has X number of hearts, which you then total up when you start, and then you go and you spend hearts on the map. And I should really turn this around so you can see the map, right? So this is the last map of the game. This is the Lost Ruin, but this is where the town, you start here, and then you go and you do various things, and you can build camps and make coins. You can fight threats, which happens here. And this is the threat deck, and all of those things get you points. And so if you fight a threat, for example, if you successfully beat this threat, you'll get a point. It's worth a point at the end of the game, and you spend 1 of your camps when you defeat it, and then that's how the game pushes towards endgame. These markers here, these places that have numbers or letters on top of them, are places where you have quests in the storybook to read, and then you uncover them, just like you do in other games like Above and Below, or we had the same kind of thing happen in like Seafall and other games like that. And then you just move, and so the whole purpose of the game board is to add more abilities as you go along, so you make your actions and your ability to quest longer before you have to go back to town and do inefficient things in town. So that's the whole thing. And a 3-player game takes, once you know how to play, it takes maybe, 75 to 90 minutes. All right. So I hope you have a better idea of how the game plays. I'm going to go now and do a couple of minutes discussing what I really like about this game. Again, at the end of the day, this is still just a kind of standard worker placement game. You take an action. You take your turn by taking an action and doing a thing. And that thing could be as simple as go over here and buy a dude, go over here and buy a bird, go over here and build a camp. Or it could be as complicated as I'm going to go over here, I got to stop and take out this threat, and then I'm going to take another couple of steps down the road, and then I'm going to go do a quest. And then the game will kind of stop for a minute while some text is read, and then you will have to overcome a challenge. That's where the heart of this game is. And the same thing with Above and Below. What makes them interesting, what makes them better than other medium weight Euros, is that mechanic. It's that push your luck mechanic, and that storytelling aspect, which really, drives you into the game, which takes you into the world that Ryan Lauckett's created. And I think that that's an admirable thing, because it really does drive engagement, and it's not just a raw point salad exercise in math. It's still an exercise in math, but he's done a wonderful job of taking the math and abstracting it a little bit, and just giving you, trying to get you to focus on enjoying the game, and not so much playing to shave a point here or a point there, and play in that respect. And that's one of the things I have a real problem with certain games, and I will be honest and say I have not played games like Agricola enough to understand how great it truly is. But I find that games like that are just not really to my taste. They're great games. They're just not to my taste, because they're too tight and they're too restrictive, and I've got to take way too long to learn how to play them. And frankly, time is limited, and the games are plentiful, and I want to be able to play as many games as possible. And a game like Agricola will take me years to master. To be able to play it as well, I don't really feel the need or the desire to do something like that. Near and Far, along with Above and Below and Islebound, are games that once you've played them 4 or 5 times, you're up the learning curve significantly, to the point where now you can, really understand how to play efficiently. And then it's just a matter of, then it comes really down to the push and luck mechanics, and how much each time you quest, how much does it cost you to succeed, or how much time when you go to overcome a threat, how much did it cost you to get that done? Because that's ultimately what's going to determine what your upper limit on your score is. But if you don't think of it in those terms, and I don't, when I play medium weight Euros, I personally just play them to survive, as opposed to try and win, because as a gamer, I have to learn by doing. I can't learn by reading rules and then abstracting the math. I have to just tactically play my way through the game, and I love that part of it. This is, from that perspective, this is a great family game, because the storytelling aspect is really every kid that I've played this with, and either this or Above and Below, has just loved that aspect of it. Even kids that don't normally like these types of games really play this, really take to this interface effectively. And there's plenty of good decision making that has to be made in this game, and that how you decide and in what order you take your actions matters, and how much risk you want to take on. If you need to hire another pack bird this turn and then go out next turn to adventure, and someone's already at the stables, do you have are you willing to risk a 2/3 chance of failure, or 50% chance of failure, in order to get that done? And that matters, right? And those choices are meaningful. One of the things I didn't talk about at all so far is the artifact cards. And there's a really awesome setup to this game. You get there's a deck of basic artifact cards and a deck of advanced cards. And typical, if you know Ryan's games, that the advanced cards are kind of end game cards. They either will affect your end game scoring by giving you extra points, or they'll just be worth so much more that completing that card will gain you points. So you gather resources in order to play artifacts. And those artifacts give you powers. They give you either swords or hearts, or the ability to, get food when you go to the Mystic's Hut, or gain a reputation if you go to the saloon, or something along those lines. And they cost a mixture of faction tokens, coins, gems, and food, all of the resources, along with potentially having a threshold to meet for reputation. And some very powerful cards require negative reputation. One other thing to note is that there are 2 sides to the town board. There's the basic side, and then there's the advanced side. So there's even more opportunity for figuring out what game you want to play within the framework that is Near and Far. So lots of opportunity here to play the game the way you want to play it, which is very, very nice. So the artifact cards are very powerful because they're worth points. You convert stuff in, that's inefficient in terms of points at the end of the game into efficiency, into points during the game that also give you powers, and then you ramp up. But what's interesting is at the beginning of the game, everybody gets a hand of 5 basic cards and 2 advanced cards. You're only going to keep 1 advanced card and discard the other one, but the other 5 you draft. You don't get stuck with that hand. You pick one and pass, just like you do in like Seven Wonders or Among the Stars or Fields of Green, and then you draft your hand that way. And you're kind of planning out and strategizing. You also know what the other people have. So there is a lot to this game. If you decide you're going to play it in effectively Cutthroat, I haven't done that yet. I'm playing with my wife and daughter, and if I play Cutthroat with them, they get angry with me. So guess what? I don't play Cutthroat. I just try to play it as best as I can. As I said before, try to play to survive, not to win, and to enjoy the experience. And because that's ultimately what games are about. So ultimately what board games are for. It's to bring groups of people together, with or without an adult beverage, and have a great time and reconnect at a personal level, certainly in an age when we're all spending so much time looking at our screens and our devices and not actually spending time talking to each other. So that's why board games are important. It's why they're part of, while they'll be a part of Gold, Goats, and Guns, even though this is nominally a geopolitics and finance and finance site. I feel very strongly that game playing and learning how to strategize and how to balance strategy and tactics is very important for how to analyze markets and for how to just get better at looking at systems. And games are a great metaphor for that. They've taught me a lot over the years, and as an inveterate gamer, I want to celebrate that. So there we go. Is Near and Far a good game? Oh yeah. Is Near and Far a great game? Very close to a great game. I think it's incredibly good value, and it may not be to everybody's taste. It certainly is to my taste. But whether I like it more or less than, say, Islebound or City of Iron, that's debatable, right? But I know that I can put this on the table and play this with my daughter and have a great time, which I can't do with City of Iron or some other games that I have. So that matters. And for that purpose, it's a perfect game. You will have a great time playing it. I would say, from kids anywhere from 9, depending on their maturity, 9 and up. Certainly, my daughter took right to it at 11, and a game just as complicated above and below at 10. And so there you go. All right. And also, my wife likes playing these games as well. And she's a good litmus test for what works with female gamers, because certain games she absolutely despises and will not play them. And I know what they are. So she's also a big fan of games like Five Tribes and other games like that. So there we go. All right, you guys take care. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Keep your stick on the ice.